So one of the big misconceptions I think there is when it comes to teaching science is that you have to be an expert with all sorts of background knowledge on many areas of science to teach it. And it certainly helps. Like it never hurts to have more background knowledge. And I would really encourage you, the more exposure you can have to science content, whether it's books you read, National Geographic specials you watch, places you go, the better. But when it comes to teaching science, what we're doing a lot of times is trying to give students a space to practice the skills. Now, here's one of the things I really think is cool about that, and that's using an object, a phenomenon, a place as the curriculum, letting that be the thing that's going to guide how we teach the scientific process. So I have some objects. They've actually been behind me throughout the course. They've stared at them for a while, or maybe haven't ever noticed they were there. So we have something like this. My eldest son, this is one of his. I snuck it out because he's not home right now. It's a shark's tooth, and so he's fascinated by sharks and fascinated by fossils. And so, just as a parent, that hey, my kid's interested in this. I got on eBay, ordered a bag of random shark tooth fossils. Super cheap, just a few bucks. Ordered it. Shows up in the mail a week or two later. And all I did was set him down with these and go, hey, here they are. I think the package maybe came with a little card or maybe a few indications of what they thought they might be. And set him down. What do you notice? And so one of the things he started doing was kind of sorting them. He's like, oh, these look the same. He's like, hey, I need some sort of chart. And so we found him a chart, different types of shark's teeth. Found him one from Jacksonville, Florida, or Florida beaches or something, because that's where the package came from. So I kind of assumed that's where the teeth were from. And one of the things so from that, he's, had stuff like, these species, they seem to look a lot alike. I wonder if they're related. I wonder why some of these are broken or how they got broken. A lot of questions. Some of them we can't answer. Some we probably can. Some are pretty easy to identify. Some not so much, or we can't get super specific. But it generates a lot of questions. The other thing, especially in the modern age, that I love about this is you can Google questions about shark's teeth, but you can't Google, what is this? Right? Like, you can't Google what species has a pointed shark's tooth, right? Like, they all do. You can't Google an object. You have to actually, search questions or pull resources, pull charts, find books, whatever. Similarly, things like this. So this is a trilobite fossil. Trilobites are an extinct species of arthropod, lost out at the end of the Permian, so well before dinosaurs. You don't really have to know much about trilobites to use them to teach science, because you can start with, okay, what's the things you observe? You get the chance to talk about textures, the actual body structure, shapes. You can incorporate measurements. How big is it? With the shark's teeth, where we have several of them, you can compare sizes and how does it feel? Are the edges different from the front and the back? It's a little bit curved. Do they all seem to be about the same size, or do we have some that are very different? Why is that? Are they different species, or do we have adult and juveniles? What maybe could be evidence there? And you don't have to know the answers to even what this thing is, as long as you're just pushing the questioning forward. If objects don't even have to be the actual version. So this is a cast of a T-Rex tooth. Portions of it are pretty realistic to what a T-Rex tooth fossil would look like. This part, not. There's not any root or anything, which is typically what we would find from a T-Rex tooth, or at least one from a fossil that died with that tooth still in the skull, because they did shed them like sharks do. But you can generate questions of, okay, well, would one in nature have, or an actual fossil, would it have a similar texture, or would it be different? That flat part doesn't seem very normal. What would the bottom of an actual one be? At times, I've used artificial flowers, because I got to a plant unit once when nurseries and hardware stores and something didn't really have plants. So, as I went on in my teaching career, I started to plan better and teach about plants when you could go down to a hardware store and buy some petunias or something. But at times when I couldn't, I used artificial ones. And so you generate a lot of questions of like, okay, well, what's the real texture? What's this part supposed to represent? And then as the teacher, you don't have to provide the questions. You don't have to provide the structure. You're giving them something to be curious about, something to ask questions about. And that can be a lot of different things. You don't have to be an expert in what those things are and how they work to effectively use them in your classroom and teach your students through inquiry with that object.